So as you know, I think before I've related it like when you buy a new car, and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, right? As I started to become aware of these weaknesses in me, this sort of this discontinuity in my logic and reasoning and where I was drawing my identity from, all of a sudden I started seeing these threads of like sort of like identity crisis in my crew around me and my peers. And so I'm in charge of this. I'm responsible for this course at the MARSOC Schoolhouse, and I'm seeing these students come through that have the same foundational things going on in their lives that I had going on in my life at that same time. And so I'm going through this, this counseling, I guess, for lack of a better term, coming to identify these weaknesses in me, and I'm seeing it in the students that are coming to me, and I'm like, I realized the responsibility. I got to have these conversations, and so as I've first I was the lead instructor and later the chief instructor for SOF EOD Level 1, I realized I needed to create some kind of a mechanism or a tool to teach to these guys to get some self-awareness. I couldn't like somebody telling me. I had heard people say you got to take care of yourself, you got to but in practice I didn't have any tool coming up until I got into this like intensive counseling to really assess myself, to identify like where am I at, how am I actually doing. And so I realized I needed to come up with something to try to pass off to the students. And so through all of the counseling and all of that, I came across I took a number of like PTSD tests, and what occurred to me was they use those tests to try to put some kind of like quantifiable data on these like subjective experiences, right? So are you having like nightmares? Scale of 1 to 5, how intense are your nightmares? Scale of 1 to 5, how much does that bother you, right? So conceivably, I could have like really bad dreams. That was a terrible dream. Wake up in the morning like, that was a weird bad dream. Or maybe I have this terrible dream and I wake up and it like bothers me for days to come, right? Those are two very different experiences. And so I sort of took that model, and then I started into the analysis of one's own life, right? So in our lives, it's sort of, we have these sort of like subjective experiences. Figuring out some way to measure those in a quantifiable way seemed like a productive thing to pass off to the students. So I started designing this thing where you might assess the things that you value in your life, and then rate your performance in those things, and then rate how satisfied you are with that performance. And so that's really where it started from, taking my experience, putting it into a thing that might be useful to other Marines, and then trying to push that into their lives through a POI at the schoolhouse that maybe the students might take forward with them.